Good evening, folks, and welcome to Discovering. Tonight, we're going back in time to a story that I did a few years ago that, even if I hadn't captured it all on video, it's a story that will probably be ingrained in my memory for the rest of my life. Between the blistering sun and the clouds of mosquitoes, who could forget that hike along the Fox River Pathway?
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Remember those mosquitoes we had this spring and all summer long, which finally just disappeared? And remember that unusually hot week we had in May? That was 4 months ago, so I can understand if you don't remember, but it's a week I won't forget. Not every hiking trail in the UP takes you above the sandstone cliffs and beaches of Pictured Rocks, through the rugged wilderness of Isle Royale, or the old-growth forests of the Porcupine Mountains. Some take you through cut-over, desolate plains of reindeer lichen and blueberry brush, scrubby jack pine forests, and mosquito-laden swamps. The Fox River Pathway is a 27.5-mile point-to-point trail that begins just north of Seney and ends at the Kingston Lake State Forest Campground a few miles south of the Pictured Rocks. Or vice versa, depending on which way you want to go. Our plan was to hike north, starting in Seney. I could have done more research on the Fox River Pathway, but there isn't much to be found. The most information you will find is on the sign at the trailhead. Ernest Hemingway based his famous Big Two-Hearted River short story on the Fox River, which is known for being an excellent trout stream. There is a real two-hearted river, but it is no secret that Hemingway tried to keep the Fox River a secret. What began as a story of following Hemingway's footsteps, catching the biggest brook trout ever, and cooking them under the stars over an open fire, turned out to be a story of survival and pushing past one's perceived limits. I think Hemingway's prized trout stream is safe because finding the off-the-beaten-path fishing holes is not for the faint of heart. I wouldn't have survived or at least finished the hike without my partner on this adventure. You might recognize Katie Urban from the Porcupine Mountains State Park. She's been the park interpreter there for a few years now, and we've done some stories together. Katie is very experienced in the backcountry and teaches backpacking courses at the Porkies. She also loves to fish. So our story is set at the end of May. The past 2 years I've hiked this time of the year. I've been ahead of the mosquito hatch, and the weather has been fairly cool. We scheduled this months in advance. We knew there would be mosquitoes. We were warned that Seney is the worst mosquito country in the UP, but thinking it would be cool and we'd have lots of layers of clothing on to protect ourselves, we should be fine. We're Upers after all. As we got closer to the week, the forecast called for low 80s. A little warm for backpacking, but it sounded doable. And we were going to be in the shade of the woods, right? I had grand plans on filming it all with a brand new camera and creating a cinematic masterpiece. Day one, that plan was abandoned a couple miles down this sandy two-track. Knowing that the mosquitoes were out full force already, we were still excited to do the trip, and our enthusiasm carried us through the first mile of mosquitoes and unmaintained trail.
Mosquito right on my legs. Good spot for you.
It was already apparent that not very many human feet grace this pathway, as there is no discernible path a lot of the times, and the trail was full of deadfalls.
It feels like it's like midsummer, like August feeling. Yeah. Not May.
And then we popped out on that sandy 2-track for who knows how many miles or hours. The sun was blazing overhead, and there was little or no shade for respite. Interestingly enough, there were giant mud holes we had to navigate around numerous times.
It's 100 degrees out here. And there's mud puddles. Alright, on your way. Yeah, no.
Katie had one little hitchhiker on this stretch to help with our mosquito problem. This wouldn't be the last dragonfly we would see. It was definitely hotter than that predicted low 80s. It was so dry under our feet, it sounded like we were walking on Captain Crunch cereal. I had to ask Katie what was under our feet. It's called reindeer lichen. We were anxious to get back to the river, bushwhacking or not, to begin our fishing adventure. For this journey, we were using the onX Hunting GPS app to help us navigate, and the app showed 2 Fox River campgrounds. We should have known better. We came to what we thought was the first campground to take a break and fish. We did fish for a while, but again, no luck. Part of doing this hike was to find spots that aren't heavily fished, and this seemed like a popular stretch of the river with the campground and all right here. So we filled up our water bottles and decided to journey north to that second Fox River campground since there was still plenty of daylight left.
Alright. Huh?
onX was wrong. There are not 2 Fox River campgrounds. I think this spot was once a campground and now part of the land is privately owned. Based on our GPS coordinates, we decided this spot was state land, and with the battered picnic table overlooking the river, it looked like as good a place of any to set up camp for the night. Miraculously, the mosquitoes quieted down enough to let us set up our tents and eat dinner in relative peace for a few minutes, and then we dove into our tents to finish our meals. Neither of us felt fabulous from the heat and exertion, and we found a few wood ticks along the trail too. It was about 87 degrees all day. We hiked about 6.5 miles, I think. Not sure. Give or take. Yeah. Tried doing a little bit of fishing. I lost a couple of hooks. How many did you lose, Katie?
I lost one, but I found one, so I'm even.
Katie's even. She lost a spinner and found a spinner, so she's even. I've lost 2 hooks. I had 2 bites, so that's a start. So hopefully we're gonna get a little bit luckier in the fishing here. There was a lot of road. Wasn't really too impressed with the road 2-track dirt that we had to walk down for. What did you say, 2 miles? 3 miles?
I would say almost 3.
3 miles of road in the blistering sun. But surprisingly, there was mud puddles.
Just wide enough to have to pick around them.
Right? I had to go around the mud puddles that are in the middle of this desert. And the terrain was flat, so that's a bonus. We're not building a campfire tonight because it is so dry. It's ridiculously dry. It's like a very high fire warning, so that's would be a really bad idea. But it's hot. It's probably still 87 degrees. I don't think we need one to stay warm. And we've got ways to cook food without that. And we didn't catch any fish yet, so don't have to worry about cooking those. So
Bonus.
All right. Of course, the river was calling our names, and after a bit of rest, we found our way to the river bottom and fished until nightfall. And if I could pick a favorite moment of the trip, falling asleep while stargazing on a warm night was my number 2 favorite moment. Mosquitoes are early risers. Katie had a brilliant idea. The only way to eat breakfast without a head net on is to walk and eat. For years, I've carried 100% DEET with me in case of emergency. This was an emergency. And as much as we hated it, we used it. After packing up, we gave this stretch of river one more try. I actually hooked a brookie, but before Katie could turn the camera on, the little bugger came off my hook. This was supposed to be a 4-day hike, spending 3 nights, because we were going to be spending a lot of time fishing. I'm not sure when we decided to make it a 3-day hike. I'm assuming here on day 2. If we thought day 1 was hot, day 2 was hotter. My thermometer got up to 101 degrees in the sun. I thought mosquitoes didn't like direct sunlight and kept to the shade. If you think this too, we're both wrong. So it's hot, and the bugs are absolutely miserable, but each time we came near the river, we forgot about the mosquitoes and how hot we were, and stopped to wet a line.
Are we fishing?
I mean, we might as well. We get this right open right there. Might as well just
Alright,
lose some bait down there.
sounds good. Alright.
Sometimes just a couple quick casts, and sometimes we'd spend an hour. We found one really good spot where we both had numerous follows and some bites, but neither of us landed one.
Any luck?
No. You, so close. They come up and they grab it, and they run away.
The next spot we dug up some real worms.
Oh, where'd it go? There it is.
And with our pockets full of worms, we split up. I went downriver while she went upriver, or it was the other way around. I had already given up on my cinematic masterpiece and paid little attention to my camera setups. Sadly, because I did catch my first brookie. And when I say first, I mean this is my very first brook trout I've ever caught. I got him! I got him! I got one! We had miles to go to our campsite for the night, so we let him go. Even though Katie is still carrying a stick of melted butter for our fish dinner.
Yes! We didn't get skunked.
We're here to catch fish, and so far, we've got one. I'll note here that most of the Fox River pathway is not along the river. For the most part, the trail was well marked, sometimes overmarked. Because it's definitely a path less traveled, there is barely a trail, and hiking Blue Blaze to Blue Blaze was the only way you could follow it. But there were also many times there were no blazes. At one point, we spent at least 10 minutes wandering around until Katie found a marker hidden behind the brush that had grown over the Blue Blaze. It was so hot and so dry that a wildfire could easily spread through here. Another reason we were surprised by the amount of mosquitoes. I can't imagine a wet season. The heat was brutal. In order to not overheat, we decided to take a break every 15 minutes. Every other break, we would take our packs off. We filled up our water bottles every spot we could, even some pretty nasty looking lakes. After miles of unforgiving terrain, we popped out of the woods to Stanley Lake Campground. And overhead, hundreds and hundreds of newly hatched dragonflies.
Hook up.
Oh my gosh, that's so many. Get them!
Yeah.
Get them! Holy cow. Have them all.
Right.
Get them.
I don't know how to describe what we felt here. Exhilaration at being done hiking for the day, Joy for the swarm of mosquito-eating dragonflies to save our day. This was our favorite moment. If you Google Stanley Lake Campground, the only thing you will find is an old blog that notes its primitive nature and says it is a very popular old favorite campground among the people of Seney. It's primitive, all right. No picnic tables, no outhouses, no nothing. Just rustic campsites with makeshift tables and grills scattered along the side of the lake. We set up camp, and again the mosquitoes gave us time to pitch tents, cook, and eat our dinner. It really was a peaceful spot. I would camp here again, next time with my truck. At dusk, the mosquito break was over, and after squishing all the skeeters that flew into our tents with us, we fell asleep to the buzz of millions of mosquitoes. Day 3. We are getting out of here.
Ready?
Ready.
Keep cool and have some blood left by the end of the trip. That's the goal today.
It was already hot before the sun rose. It's a good thing we did not get on trail before daylight, though, because we would have never found our way out. Right away was the swampiest section of the pathway. We passed many good-looking fishing holes, including this one with a beaver dam, but the mosquitoes were just too thick. You could grab handfuls out of the air. By now, I've come to the conclusion mosquitoes are only here to annoy us. But I do imagine they play a role in the ecosystem, like feeding our favorite dragonflies and other birds and bats. Apparently, they also pollinate flowers. Did you know there are more than 3,500 mosquito species, only 400 transmit diseases, and most don't feed on humans at all? Go figure, we have the brand that like human blood. We could have worse things here in the UP, I suppose, like giant snakes. Throughout the pathway are multiple plains areas. They are eerie graveyards of jagged pine stumps left over from the lumbering days when UP forests were cut down to build cities to the south. For some reason or another, not much grew back here, just gnarly tombstones and reindeer lichen.
Back over here. Is that a blue dot on the back of that white pine there? The one's kind of the branches are
Yeah,
dead
I can't
stump.
tell what that is.
One of our breaks was at the lake we planned to set up camp that night. It was a beautiful spot. Part of me wanted to just stop here for the night, but the part of me that wanted to get this over with was stronger. At another lake, we sat and watched dragonflies emerge from their larval stage.
And then they like cocoon in their little skin bodies and like so they're attached in there. And they crawl up on land. And then they like hang out for a little bit and then they pop out. And then they fly around and eat all these mosquitoes.
The only other signs of life we saw along the trail were a sandhill crane, a luna moth, and a turtle. Amazingly, the last couple miles of the trail were well marked, with bird-watching benches and fancy trail markings that seemed like overkill compared to the previous 25 miles. This part of the trail must see more traffic. Hours after we hoped to be done, but still a day early, we finished the 27.5-mile Fox River pathway. We were sweaty, stinky, dirty, and probably less a few pints of blood, but we survived. And a story we will both tell for years. I'll never look at a few mosquitoes again the same way. This summer, when everyone was complaining about the mosquitoes, myself included, I thought, you had no idea. It was physically challenging, but more so mentally. We both had our breaking points, which only lasted a few seconds, and we'll leave those on the trail. I really don't recommend doing what we did, mainly because of the extreme heat. But if you're looking for an adventure off the beaten path and want to test your wilderness survival skills, just be prepared. All your essentials, plus a map, compass, GPS, sunscreen, blister care, and lots of insect repellent. There were little moments that helped us through. The stars, the dragonflies, our one and only brook trout. In my journey to explore every trail in the UP, I'm happy to have crossed this one off my list. And I never need to do it again. That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.